Hi everyone! In this video we're going to look at Sephora and Pantone's Universe new summer palette. This is called the Shades of Nature eyeshadow palette, and it's a collection of 35 different colors that Sephora and Pantone have put together inspired by summer. If you remember from about a month back, I did a video review and a blog review of Sephora and Pantone Universe's Color of the Year Collector's Edition set. So Pantone is a company that deals with paint colors, I believe, something like that. And every year they designate a color of the year. And so it looks like Sephora is just continuing its partnership with Pantone and creating more palettes in conjunction with the company. This palette is available at Sephora and it is $55. This here is the box packaging. So it's in thick cardboard and it opens up like this. And then there's a protective foam covering here. And the palette is inside with the same kind of decoration as is on the box itself. So we're going to take this out. And on the box here, it lists all of the colors on the back if you want to look at that. It also has the ingredients for each shade grouping. Now this palette is made of fairly thick white plastic, if you can hear that, and it is extremely sleek in design, and I've never quite seen an eyeshadow palette with packaging like this. I personally love it. I think it's beautiful. It's very thin, almost like a really thin laptop, like a MacBook Air or something like that. It's not, of course not the tiniest palette that you could get, but it's not huge given the number of shadows that are in here. It is designed on the side with this sort of the shell of a beetle, so it's very beautiful, yet very simple. On the back here, you have the designation of all the colors. Now, unfortunately, I think this is a miscalculation on Sephora's part. These shades don't have their own names. They are designated by numbers, much like a paint color would be. So that's staying true to, I guess, Pantone's approach and style and the kind of business that they're in, but I think personally in making a product for consumers, for makeup consumers, you need to make it more accessible by designating actual names that correspond with each color. So unfortunately, when I show you the swatches in a few seconds, I'm not going to be able to align each color up with its name. It's just going to be a string of numbers that doesn't really mean anything to any of us. Okay, so going on with the packaging. So here you go, there is this clear plastic cover here. Again, it has each of the numbers corresponding to each shade. And then there's a full-sized mirror here. It extends the entire length of the lid. So it's extremely convenient. You don't need to be in front of a mirror or go to a bathroom. You have a huge mirror here to work with to see the entire space that you're working with on the lid. So that's really great and convenient and great for traveling with. So we remove this plastic covering, and here you have the 35 shades ranging from your browns and neutrals into the oranges, peaches, kind of yellows, I guess, or cream here, into the pinks, purples, deep blues, lighter blues mixed in with a little bit of green, making teals, and then your yellows and greens over here. So basically the whole rainbow spectrum of shades all in one palette here. Alright, so unfortunately, since I can't tell you by name what colors I'm swatching, I'll just try to show you. So I'll go by column, and then turned this way I'll go from left to right swatching the colors. So we'll start with the browns first. Alright, as always, I've put down an eyeshadow primer first. So this first color is a deep matte brown. Good color payoff. It's a little dusty, but It's pretty opaque and very even in application, which is great when you're dealing with matte shadows. Next is a lighter shimmery brown. It has golden particles in it. Again, pretty good color payoff, not quite as opaque or intense as I'd like it to be, but the application is smooth and even. A cooler toned brown. Again, in the pan it has gold shimmers, but they don't really apply to the skin. This color doesn't have very good color payoff or intensity, although the formula does apply pretty smoothly. Here is a second layer. Next is a creamy champagne. This doesn't have individualized shimmer particles, but it does leave a frosty sheen to the skin. And now this creamy white color. This is a very intense creamy white. Amazing color payoff, has small silver shimmers in it. Applies really evenly, and you can tell that the formula is really smooth and soft. Alright, next up we're going to do this orange and peach row. This is a slightly burnt orange color, quite reminiscent of the color of the year from the other Pantone Universe collection. It's probably actually the exact same color. So fairly good color payoff, but it isn't as dark or as intense as it appears in the pan. Next is a very similar color, slightly lighter orange, not quite as burnt in color, more of a tangerine. Again, it has okay color payoff, but not as intense as I would like it to be, and not as deep as it appears in the pan. Next is an apricot color. These three colors all have slightly frosty finishes. They apply nicely and evenly and smoothly, but again, not quite as intense. This color actually has really good color payoff, although once again, it's not as deep as the color that you see in the pan. I apologize if my voice is a little off. I'm still fighting off a cold. Next is a buttery yellow color. Good color payoff on that one. Pretty similar to what it appears in the pan. And next is, again, a very intense cream. It has the slightest hint of a champagne. But just like with the last color we saw on the first set of swatches, this one is really intense, high frost finish, and just really incredible color payoff. Next up we'll do the pinks row. So first up is this bright, slightly violet-based pink. Good color payoff. Next is a lighter version of that color. This has almost a duochrome effect with the frost finish. Has a slightly lighter pink sheen than the underlying pigment. Again, same basic color, but lighter in hue, and an even more intense frost shimmer. Next is a matte chiffon pink. Last is this chiffon cream color that has very tiny silver sparkles in it. Next is the row of purples. First is this really deep matte purple shade. Not quite opaque. Here's a second layer. Layers really nicely so you can get this really intense deep purple effect. Next is a lighter violet purple version of that color. Goes on a little unevenly and not opaque. Color payoff isn't that great. Here is a second layer. Can even it out a little bit, but it's still a little patchy on the skin. Here's a really bright purple. It's deeper purple shade, still bright in tone. Last in this row is this pale lilac, intense frost finish. Great color payoff, smooth application. Definitely the best color in this row. Next up are these deep blues and grays. First up is a midnight blue. looks almost black on the skin. Again, not quite opaque, but I'm sure layering will intensify the finish. It's really intense pigment there. Next is a medium navy blue with a slight frost finish. There's one more layer. Third is a gunmetal gray. Great pigmentation, very even and smooth application. Fourth is a typical gray color, again frost finish. Good color payoff. And last is a very pale gray. Comes off pretty much a silver color. Like all the rose we've seen, the last color is always really intense in pigmentation. Next up are the greens and blues. This is a medium teal blue color with silver shimmers. Really nice pigmentation in even finish. Second is more of a sea green color. So it's a little more green in tone, but it still has an undertone of blue in it. This is an intensely bright, almost cerulean type blue color. Next is a seafoam green, intense silvery frost finish. And last is this pale green color. Once again, just incredible frost finish here. Of all the roses, this has been the most impressive. All of these colors have beautiful payoff, great even finishes, and just really nice color to them. And last up we have the greens and yellows. First is a deep forest green with lighter green shimmers. Next is a basic green, primary green with slight frost finish. And this is a yellow-based lime green. Here is a yellow, almost like a primary yellow. I wish it were more opaque. And last is this beige nude color. Not as intense as all of the rest of the rose we've seen with the last color there. Alright, so there you have Sephora and Pantone Universe's Shades of Nature eyeshadow palette. We saw all 36 shades in this video. Overall, do I think it's worth $55? I do think it's worth that money if you don't already have a palette that gives you an array of bright rainbow type colors. They are good quality. There are only a few shades where I really think are very noticeably lacking in pigmentation. There are a lot of shades that are really intense and beautiful in pigmentation and finish. All of these colors apply pretty evenly. The only real exceptions were these colors here at the bottom. But even then you can layer them to really even out the finish and intensify the colors. I think my favorite shades are probably these two over here. And as we saw, the colors on this top row just have, for some reason, they just have this incredibly frosty finish. Fantastic color to them, really buttery soft. So if you want something with that intense shine to it, then these are great options for you. I do also really appreciate that there is a mixture of matte shades in this palette. I think that's really important and something that a lot of companies, when they make palettes with a ton of colors, they really overlook that factor that people need or want matte shades to balance out an otherwise shimmery eye look. As always, please go to allurabeauty.com. I will have a review post on the blog showing you actual pictures of the colors. It'll let you see more detail than you see in the video. And I will do a written review on the shades, letting you know how they wear, what the quality actually pans out to be, and other details on the review post. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts, either on the blog or in the comments below to this video. I hope you enjoyed looking at this palette with me. See you in the next video.